Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was the Dark Phoenix of Konoha. Naruto has a big secret, he isn't the dead last he appears to be. But why would he show that before he is ready to deal with the stones the council loves placing in his way? The Sandaime, having opened his eyes, will do his best to make sure that Konoha will retain the will of fire. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 40, Jashinists. Shimon Hijiri looked at the team that had come to back them up on this mission. He really didn't like the things that Dark Phoenix told them about the workings of the seal and what it could cause. That's truly a mess. How are we going to prevent that? He asked. The main problem is that you need to dismantle the whole seal. Once it is set up completely, it's tricky to undo. From the design that you sent to Konoha, this one is finished. They only need to get their sacrifices to the seal to begin. The best way to act is by wrongly triggering the seal. Meaning by either giving the wrong kind of sacrifice, fruit juice, or something else that is sweet would work perfectly if we can get enough of it here, or by unloading a shitload of water on the seal, which will dissolve the seal's structure with enough time, Naruto explained, though the second one takes time and you can bet that the Jashinist that aspires to become a high priest will notice and attack to protect his seal. Truly a problem, Shimon agreed. What if he has already started? We don't know when they will start after all. Then we only have one chance. As soon as the first bit of sacrificial blood has been added to the seal, the process will start and the rift will be opened to call forth the Reaper spirit. The whole amount of blood will need to be sacrificed for the process to work properly and seal the Reaper spirit in the Jashinist, but if a rift is open, it is actually dangerous to mess things up if you don't know what to do. You need to have another sealing array prepared and either a team of Fuinjutsu specialists working together to have enough chakra or one Fuinjutsu master that has enough chakra to seal up the Reaper spirit before it can enter the Jashinist. For us this means this, our first plan has to be getting rid of the seal as soon as possible. We only have me, and while I'm a Fuinjutsu master, I would really prefer to not have to fight against a Reaper spirit for dominance through Fuinjutsu. There is no guarantee that it will work the way I planned, and I have never done this before. I have the old Uzumaki seals, thanks to Hokage-sama and Naruto agreeing to let me study them, but I would rather not force the issue, Naruto told them. I understand. Yes, dealing with an inactive seal would be much easier than having to deal with a Reaper spirit, Shimon agreed, looking sickly. While ninjas had to deal with all kinds of bloodshed in their careers, a spirit was something completely different. You had a damn hard time with some ninjas already, but spirits couldn't be fought with normal ninjutsu. And as Dark Phoenix said, Fuinjutsu was not widely understood on a higher level. We can go to the seal immediately. I doubt that we can organize the same amount of fruit juice that sacrificing 50 people would get, therefore we have to go with the water blasting. My elemental affinity is water and Kotetsu has it as well, I think. Shimon looked at the younger man. That's correct, Kotetsu nodded, but I don't have any wide area water jutsus in my arsenal. Is there a river close to the seal? Naruto asked. No, it's about 3 kilometers away from any source of water, which makes sense if you know how to mess it up, Izumo said. Then we need to use water storage scrolls to bring enough water there to be used for jutsus. I have 6 prepared on my person and I can make a few more if you give me an hour, Naruto said. You can fill the 6 that I have up at the river while I work on the others. Good, we will do that. Hinata, keep watch and warn us if anybody comes closer, Shimon ordered. I will, Hinata confirmed the order. Naruto set to work making 5 shadow clones to not give away too much of his abilities while Izumo, Kotetsu, and Shikamaru went out to fill the scrolls at the river. There was no time to waste. They didn't know when the Jashinist would attempt his ritual after all. Naruto looked over all of the filled sealing scrolls. They now had 24 filled scrolls full of water. That should be enough to erase the seal on the ground. It would still be hard getting the water on all parts and then waiting for it to be ruined before the Jashinist interfered. And he would bet that he was close to act. In his place he wouldn't set up the seal until he was ready to act. It was an unnecessary risk. All right, we need to go, Shimon told the group, and they nodded, setting out immediately to the location of the seal. It was about 15 minutes at running speed away from their camp, which meant that it should be outside of normal Seigneur range. They didn't speak during the run, as they didn't know when an opponent would appear, no matter if Hinata kept watch with her Byakugan. They reached the outer part of the seal and the new group was shocked how large it actually was. The diameter had to be at least 10 meters. He was busy. Those structures all around weren't there last time, when we found the seal, Kotetsu commented gravely in a low voice. What could they be for? Hinata whispered. There are 25 of them and from how they look like, they are large enough to hold 2 people each. They are probably for the ritual to tie up the sacrifices, Shikamaru commented. We really need to hurry, Shimon grumbled, set to work. He had just given the order, when the ground outside of the seal broke open and some kind of black vines lifted unconscious people from the ground. The vines then proceeded to stick the people to the structures, hanging with their heads down and the arms spread to the sides. Then a black-clad woman with long violet hair appeared inside the seal's center, also from the ground, riding on a black vine. She was clad in tight black leggings, high-heeled black boots, a black bra with a blood-red shawl around her otherwise bare upper body. Shit, that has to be the Jashinist, Shimon cursed. Can we still dissolve the seal before she starts? Improbable. Shit, if we only had enough sugar to turn the water sweet, we could try to substitute the blood with something sugary, Naruto cursed. Would treacle do? Izumo asked suddenly. Yes, but where would we get that? Naruto asked. I have a jutsu that turns the ground into treacle. I use it as a trap normally, Izumo answered. I can hide in the treacle and normally attack from it, surprising my opponent. It's probably our best shot. We will use the water to attack the Jashinist. That way we may be able to delay her enough that the seal is ruined. Target the places under the structures first. There are the absorbing parts, Naruto hurriedly replied. Shikamaru, try trapping her in your shadow, Hinata, disable her with your gentle fist. We will only have one proper shot at this, Shimon ordered. Kotetsu, you will cover for Izumo while he uses his jutsu. Dark Phoenix and I will attack the Jashinist directly. Understood, they all replied and moved. Ah, the rats that thought they could stop my ascension, the woman greeted them, looking more or less bored. You truly think that you can stop me from becoming a high priestess of God Jashin? She laughed crazily. As if I didn't notice you sneaking around here. Let's see. Konoha pests. How would you like to see how to truly use plants to your advantage? She asked, cackling, and a large number of black vines attacked the group from all kinds of places underground. The Konoha group jumped away to avoid being impaled by the vines. Kotetsu and Izumo tried getting close to the places where the planned sacrifices were held, but the vines were really nasty and sharp as razors. Naruto decided to cut them down, literally. He flew through a sequence of hand seals. Wind release, cutting whirlwind, Naruto whispered and threw his arms outwards while spinning on the spot. Thanks to his mastery over the wind element, he was able to cut down a good number of vines. A problem was that the vines grew back after the initial cutting. Rare to find a wind element of that level, the woman commented, but useless in the long run. She made a few hand seals of her own. Secret art, vine spear barrage, she exclaimed, and had loads of spears made from the black vines shoot at the attacking Konoha team. Water release, water walls, Shimon cried out, and a large wall of water stopped the spears, but they still got through a good part of the walls that now protected the Konoha shinobi. You are only delaying the inevitable, the woman cackled. Secret art, black vine hell. From all over the ground the vines shot up and raced after the Konoha team. We can't get close, Shikamaru cursed, running next to Hinata to prevent being speared by a vine. This way she will start the ritual before we can take her out. I know, but do you have an idea how to neutralize these vines? They are really annoying, Hinata asked. Not yet. They are too unpredictable in their movements, Shikamaru replied. Do they have their own chakra supply, or is it the chakra of the woman? Let me check, Byakugan, Hinata answered and looked at the vines and how they operated. There seems to be some kind of source of the vines in the ground. It isn't her chakra that moves them, it seems that she controls whatever the source is with her jutsus. Can we reach the source in any way? Shikamaru asked. No, it's right beside the seal and the concentration of vines is strongest there. We would be killed before we get close enough to actually strike at the source, Hinata denied. Damn it all to hell, Shikamaru cursed, and they continued running and jumping out of the way of the vines. Meanwhile the woman started her ritual, not bothered by the Konoha shinobi, sure in the protection that her jutsu would give her. God Jashin, please accept my sacrifice of blood and allow me into the esteemed ranks of your high priests and priestesses, she started and then went through a long sequence of hand seals. Naruto watched helplessly as the woman finished her hand seals, as he was too busy with dodging and cutting down the vines to actually attack the Jashinist. It would be hard as hell to stop this cursed ritual from starting. This was no simple opponent, it was more than likely a high A-rank opponent. And they didn't have any high-ranking Jonin on their team. He was the highest-ranking ninja at Special Jonin. All the others were Chunin, with Hinata and Shikamaru only being rookie Chunin. Well, this would need special jutsus. Those overpowered things that he normally didn't use in battle, as they had the bad habit to blow up in your face. But the vines needed to go so that they could stop the Jashinist. He quickly unsealed one of the flying backpacks that he always carried on his person and activated it, shooting into the air, out of reach of the vines. He flew above the seal and watched how the insane woman made 5 earth clones, which walked over to the captives, a knife in hand. He knew that the woman intended to kill the prisoners to activate the ritual. He needed to prevent that. He sped through the 32 hand seals for this jutsu. It was the only chance he had now. Now the fact that the vines didn't let the others inside was a good thing. Water and lightning release, true thunderstorm, Naruto called out and used one of the full storage scrolls with water to flood the seal and the Jashinist. The electricity from the lightning chakra that he had molded had charged each part of the water, and his manipulation of the water chakra in combination with the lightning chakra enabled him to control the movement of the water. Right now, the Jashinist had to feel thousands of liters of highly charged water hitting her in violent waves, while the water was held back from getting outside by her vines. He could hear her scream. He hoped that the victims, who were tied up on wooden structures, would not be hit by the lightning. But he sadly couldn't be considerate right now. The Jashinist would become a horrible threat, should she manage to become a high priestess. When his jutsu stopped working, he found the woman staggering around, clearly disorientated. He was honestly surprised that she was still alive after a point-blank hit. "You will pay for that." She screamed and made clones from the water, as the water had destroyed her original clones. But Naruto only had to flare his own chakra to make them fall apart. That water was charged with his chakra, which meant he had full control over it. The problem was, it wasn't enough water by far to dissolve the stupid seal. Just enough for his more powerful ninjutsus. The woman now went through hand seals again, and Naruto was confronted with having to maneuver in the air to avoid flying boulders. He also noticed that the vines had lost some speed. That could be a hint on what kind of jutsu it was and how to stop it. He made 2 shadow clones that quickly flew to the sides to find out if the people had survived his attack. When they dispelled, he found out that, while some had been hit, the charge they were hit with had been too small to kill them. They were hurt, but if given medical treatment within the next day, they would recover. And he could set some scheme up to make it look as if he had summoned himself from Konoha via one of the flying thunder god Konoha. It was known to a few people that Naruto, Namikaze and Dark Phoenix worked on Fuinjutsu projects together from time to time. It wouldn't be too hard to explain away. But first this Jashinist had to die. Otherwise, any healing wouldn't do these people any good anymore, as they would have been killed already. He took a few pre-made seals from his pouch and used the cover of the boulders to direct them using his wind chakra. The seals only needed to be attached to the woman in some way to work. He needed 2 to make the trap spring. He noticed the first one landing and attaching itself to the right leg of the woman, who thankfully didn't notice the contact. A second one got close, but was intercepted by a boulder that was thrown at him again. 3 more seals were stopped by boulders until finally the last one landed on her bare back. She noticed and grabbed for the seal, but the 2 that had landed activated as soon as they were both on the same body. The seals made pure lightning chakra, about 1000 volts each, shoot through the woman's body. She screamed in pain, and Naruto used the now dropping boulders to send out 50 shadow clones to free the captives. If he could get them away from the seal, he could prevent the ritual. To his utter shock, the woman still was alive. "No stupid attack can harm those serving God Jashin," she growled, kneeling on the ground with her whole body shaking. "What a freak, Naruto mumbled. He found that his shadow clones had made short work out of the vines tying the captives up and had transported them out of the seal's range via body flicker. I will first kill you, then I will kill your team, then I will kill the captives and I will become a high priestess. Then I can finally unite with Haiden and we can bring back God Jashin in human form. Nothing will stop the rule of Lord Jashin, she cackled in the end. Naruto felt sick, understanding that she planned some sick sexual ritual with the other known high priest of Jashin to become pregnant with a child. He didn't know if it was possible to have child that could bear a god be sired by two high priests, but he would rather not risk finding it out. Suddenly the woman didn't move anymore and seemed to struggle. Naruto found a thin line of shadows connected to her and followed it with his eyes, finding Shikamaru, who was kneeling behind a ceiling barrier that kept the attacking vines from him, and Hinata, at the end. Naruto was glad that the two were safe and had found a way to help him. Probably Hinata had directed Shikamaru with the help of her Byakugan. Then a large fireball slammed into the vines and they burned down before some new ones came from the ground. But the burned vines had given Izumo an opening to cover the seal with treacle. You didn't think we would leave all the fun to you? Izumo called out, grinning how his treacle was sucked into the seal. About time you acted, Naruto called back, that woman is a freak with how much damage she can take. I doubt she can survive getting cut into small pieces, Shimon commented, raising his sword over his head. The seal seemed to shake as the treacle was absorbed more and more. Oh, I think the seal has indigestion, Izumo joked. You won't stop me? The woman screeched and forced her hands to move. Shimon was about to bring his sword down when a large scythe was thrown into the way of the sword, stopping it dead in its tracks. A pity Mala, you were so close, a male voice stated, now get those F***ing tree huggers killed so we can make you a proper high priestess. Haiden, the woman called Mala greeted happily. Shit, the Jashinist high priest, Katetsu cursed. Haiden gave an imposing sight with his scythe already back in his hand. He emitted self-confidence in each movement. He was also fast and knocked Katetsu and Izumo away as if they were nothing but annoying flies. Naruto quickly calculated in his mind what to do. The shadow clones had brought the intended victims away, which meant that this Mala needed to find new victims, if he was successful in getting far enough away fast enough. This wasn't an opponent he could deal with. He was good, yes, but this guy was S rank and he wasn't that good. Not without taking him by surprise. The only way to solve this problem was the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, but it bore the risk of giving up his identity. Well, their lives were more important than this secret and he could avoid letting these two find out. The Konoha team could be sworn to secrecy if he couldn't pull off a ruse. He quickly had 4 clones set up a barrier around the whole seal area, which caused Haiden to swear like a sailor, and body flickered everybody away. The two would at least be stuck for an hour, which was enough time to get everybody to safety. And the amount of treacle that the seal had sucked up should be enough to prevent a quick activation of the ritual. This needed the Anbu to take over. He reached Shikamaru and Hinata at the same time as Shimon. Katetsu and Izumo were brought there by the clones. What now? We aren't prepared to take on a high priest that we can't kill, Shimon asked. The seal won't work properly for about a day I think, thanks to the amount of treacle Izumo managed to get into it. It wasn't enough to fully shut it down, but it will buy us enough time to call for the Anbu from Konoha. We can't take on an S-rank ninja and expect to win or even survive, Shikamaru stated before Naruto could do it. He is right. This is far beyond our abilities. The barrier I created will hold them up for a while and I doubt that Mala will be able to perform the ritual anytime soon with the amount of electricity that I sent through her with my seals and the true thunderstorm jutsu. She's only going on by pure stubbornness. We need to get away with the captives. This will also delay them and give us time to call in Anbu, Naruto pointed out. Alright, this is the best course of action. But we need to get farther away than our camp and that will be difficult with the two only being held up for an hour, should they not find a way out of the barrier, Shimon commented. Say what you want about Haiden, he might be powerful and impossible to kill, but he isn't said to be a smart guy. His tactics are brutal and straightforward. With enough preparation you could take him out of the equation, Shikamaru said, remembering the bingo book entry, the Hokage and the Anbu will be able to figure out a solution. And it will take them time to find new victims. You don't simply catch 50 people in a short time when there are no larger villages around. Especially as a large-scale operation would call the ninja villages around onto the plan. The others nodded. Still, how do we evacuate? Shimon asked. I have one of Naruto's flying thunder god Konoha at the camp. It was a last option measure that the Hokage decided upon. I can call him and he can take the group back to Konoha, Naruto said, thinking that his original plan might still work and preserve his identity. But they really needed to get away now. They didn't have much time left. At the camp the group quickly sealed up the equipment that they had brought with them while Naruto secretly made a clone outside of the tent and changed positions with it to be able to flash into the tent while the clone used the Konoha. Hinata treated the captives as well as she could to stabilize them. Some had got burns from the electricity, but they were a minority. And thankfully not all of them had been hit. The attack had been concentrated on the center of the seal where Mala had stood. The medics in Konoha would have them back on their feet soon enough. When they had everything ready to go, the shadow clone took out a marked Konoha and threw it onto the ground after pushing chakra into it. Naruto flashed to the Konoha's position in fighting stance, already changed into his normal clothes. He relaxed a little when he spotted the group and made a show of nodding to Dark Phoenix. Why did you call me, Dark Phoenix? Naruto asked. We need an emergency evacuation to Konoha, Naruto. The mission turned too dangerous. We were able to prevent the ultimate worst scenario for the meantime, but this is a mission where Anbu are needed, Phoenix explained shortly. Alright, Kakashi-sensei already told me to expect a call in case of emergencies and to simply do what you wanted, Phoenix, Naruto nodded. How many people are we talking about? 50 unconscious victims that we could save and 6 Konoha ninjas from the 2 teams that were on this mission, Phoenix answered. I see. That's going to require good organization and some shadow clones, Naruto stated and made about 10 clones. I need you to bring the victims into the center of the circle me and my clones make. We will then do a transportation to Konoha. Let me think a moment about the location. We can't fit all those people into Kakashi-sensei's office after all. Naruto thought about the positions of his Konoha inside the village and decided upon the arrival room for the T&I division of Anbu, as it was simply the largest and fairly close to the hospital. Alright, get ready for transport, Naruto instructed and the group got the unconscious people into the middle of the circle. Naruto concentrated and was only briefly disturbed when a shadow clone from the barrier was dispelled, thanks to Hayden managing to break through the barrier 10 minutes before planned. But it wouldn't matter. He connected his chakra through the clones and then he flashed the whole group back to Konoha, long before the 2 Jashinists burst into the abandoned camp, furious that the ritual wouldn't take place now. Chapter 41, Mission, Stop the Jashinists. Naruto stood in front of Kakashi, giving his report on the mission, with Shimon adding his observations. Then the other 4 gave their reports before Kakashi dismissed them. He only let Naruto and his Dark Phoenix disguise stay. Anbu teams 7 and 15 are to be ready to go in 10 minutes, Kakashi ordered and a slight blip leaving was the only indication for Naruto that an Anbu had left to follow the order. Now, Naruto, Kakashi turned to his student, I wonder why you decided that retreat was the best course of action. I knew that I wouldn't be able to protect all the victims from 2 Jashinists, sensei, Naruto answered, pulling off the hood and lower face mask, while, if the worst would have happened and the only way to kill the aspiring high priestess, before she could start the ritual, was to also kill the captives, I would have done so, with Hayden in the picture as well though, it wasn't an option anymore. I know that I could take on 1 Jashinist with enough preparation, even Hayden, but not when he had the stronger position. With 2 of them there, he could have covered Mala to let her do the ritual. We needed to get everybody away. After all, the ritual didn't really care if the people were already dead before you bled them out. And it takes some time before a body doesn't bleed anymore after dying. It wasn't possible within the time perimeters, sensei, Naruto explained. Good to see that your success on other missions hasn't gone to your head, Naruto, and you are able to judge when you should rather retreat and make a better plan, Kakashi stated satisfied. I was a bit concerned about it. What we need are some seals that the 2 won't expect to equip the Anbu teams with. I want you and your shadow clones to draw as many seals as you can until the Anbu teams will arrive here. I need standard explosive tags, poison seals, elemental seals, poison senbon shooter seals, chakra suppressor seals, those nasty new blood vessels bursting seals and the chakra beam shooter seals that Niji tested in Snow Country, Kakashi listed. Understood, Naruto confirmed and made 25 shadow clones, which immediately flashed away. Then he repeated the process 6 more times, simply because the office wasn't large enough for more clones at once. He knelt on the floor and created the poison seals himself, with a bottle of liquid poison that Kakashi handed him. He mixed the poison into the ink and the poison would enter the body of the victim on contact. Any kind of liquid or powdered poison was suited for this, as they could be mixed with the ink. Though liquid form was better. Once they were done, he also made the counter seals. It wouldn't do after all if an Anbu was accidentally poisoned to have him die from it. The time for the Anbu to get to the office was gone and Naruto back in disguise when they appeared. Only those Anbu that constantly guarded the Hokage in his office and a few others were privy to his identity after all. The mission is the termination of Jashinists Haiden and Mala. A team of Chunin has encountered them and managed to just get their captives away before they could perform a ritual that would have summoned a Reaper spirit to turn Mala into a high priestess of Jashin. It won't take the two too long to find replacement victims. While there aren't any villages close by, it will only give us 4 to 5 days at most. If they want to get things done quickly, they will not care for stealth this time around. They know that we're up to their attempt now and that will lead to them rushing their plans. The seal that they set up was handicapped, but it will be back to working order by the time they will need to catch replacement sacrifices. They need 50 of them to call forth the Reaper spirit. Haiden can't be killed, even if you stab him, behead him, or burn him. You would need to totally destroy his body to succeed. He already has absorbed a Reaper spirit after massacring his old village, the Hot Springs village. The team that was on the mission overheard that the two intend to bring God Jashin into this world by Haiden impregnating Mala, once she has reached High Priestess status. It has to be prevented. We don't need a god in human form, should it be possible, that delights in causing pain and massacring people. We would be thrown into a new war, should that happen. Dark Phoenix has encountered the two and can give you an estimation of some of their abilities, Kakashi informed the Anbu teams and Naruto continued by retelling the way the fight went. Then the Anbus were given the seals Naruto had prepared. You will be taken to the last known location by Naruto Namikaze, as he has left a flying thunder god Konoha there. Naruto will then return to Konoha. This kind of mission is beyond his level so far. The seal is located about 5 kilometers from the campsite where you will start. Dark Phoenix will stay with you as a seal supplying backup. He will only engage should he be needed as a seal's master. We can't afford to let him face S-ranked ninjas before he's ready, Kakashi informed the Anbu team, which confirmed the orders. Then 5 of Naruto's shadow clones entered the office to get the Anbus to the site. Soon Kakashi was the only one left in the office, before one clone returned, confirming that they were at the previous campsite and dispelled. Now Kakashi could only hope that they would be able to stop the Jashinists before they could manage to perform their ritual. The two Anbu teams and Naruto dashed towards the site of the seal. There was just one problem. Mala had been busy and had created a veritable forest of black thorny vines that attacked at the slightest approach. Damn, this is going to be tricky, Anbu Badger commented. What can you tell us about the vines, Dark Phoenix? Dove asked. They are controlled by Mala's chakra. During the fight she used them both for attack and defense and the source was buried underground, which made it difficult to take out, Naruto answered. I see, Dove replied, we need an estimation how high they grow. Let's take to the trees around and get a better idea. The team did just that and found out that the vines had created a large dome over the whole seal. They must have suspected that we would return to sabotage the seal, Naruto stated, therefore they set up the best kind of defense that they could muster. Those vines are really tricky to deal with. They can be burned down, but they regrow very fast. I see. Well, let's see how they deal with this, Mantis stated and let a swarm of insects loose, which told Naruto that he was in a barame. The group observed if the insects could get through the vines or destroy them. Right now, they needed to work carefully and not risk their lives. The two Jashinists couldn't have got new victims yet. Perhaps in a few hours they might be able to get them if they were lucky, but not right now, as the first team had only been in Konoha for 2 hours before the Anbu were sent out by the Hokage. Then a smaller number of insects returned to Mantis and he listened to their report. The vines have a potent chakra-reactive venom in them. My insects can't destroy them. The recovery rate is too fast for any damage they can cause before they die to actually count, Mantis reported. There is chakra that streams from the ground into the vines, Bear reported, making Naruto believe that he was a Hyuga. The pods from which the vines originate are about 4 meters deep inside the earth. No way that we can direct a strike there with the vines attacking. Dark Phoenix, do you have any strong fire seals? Badger asked. Yes, Naruto answered and took a pile of 20 seals out. These cover about 20 meters in diameter. They release fire for about 3 minutes before they burn up. It won't be enough to destroy all vines, but maybe enough to let us clear an aisle through the wall of vines. The question is how to destroy the pods in the ground before the fire goes out and the vines grow back. After all, the fire would also hinder us from reaching them, Dove pondered. No real idea on that front. You would probably need a powerful earth jutsu to just loosen one of those pods, Bear stated. I doubt we would have enough time to get them destroyed while the fire rages. How many of the pods are inside the ground and are there vines that go downwards? Naruto asked, having a crazy idea. As far as I can see, there aren't any vines going down. All parts grow upwards. And there is a close net of them all around the seal. I would say at least 100 of the things, Bear answered. Let me think this through, Naruto requested and started to draw on a notepad. The Anbu watched him while thinking about ways to get through the dome as well. This might work, but I'm not totally sure. Hokage-sama asked me to create poison tags for the Jashinists after I reported for the first part of this mission. I also have a number of different poisons in my arsenal that can be used to target plants. Mantis, could your insects determine what kind of poison it is that runs through the vines? Naruto addressed the Abarame Anbu. As far as they can tell, it is blood-based and makes the erythrocytes burst, Mantis answered. Okay, they would have to be adapted to consuming mammals then, otherwise that kind of venom doesn't make sense. No plant produces a venom that doesn't help with gathering food or defense against its natural predators. Meaning this one is most probably a carnivore. And carnivorous plants normally react badly against acid, Naruto concluded. Where are you going with this? Dove asked. If we manage to inject a strong and fast-acting acid into the pods from below, we might have a chance to take them out. While the fire will rage on the surface, keeping the pods too busy to notice anything underground, an Earth-style user could use the underground fish projection technique to inject a number of the pods. We only need to take out enough that the regrown vines can't reach us anymore. We only need access to the seal, not take down the whole dome. After all, they can't afford to plant those things everywhere, as their vines would mess up the seal. They will be a good distance away from it, Naruto reasoned. It could work. Do you have such an acid? Dove asked. No, but I know how to make it. I would need an hour of preparation time, as I don't have the right equipment here, Naruto informed him. Then get started. This is our best shot. We will try some other ways as well. Better to not bet on one way that might not work. We are on a tight schedule after all, Dove ordered, and the Anbu spread out to see if there were any weak spots in the dome. 1 hour later Naruto was ready and handed the acid mixture to Badger, who used Earth-style jutsus. The other Anbus took the fire seals and lined up to burn down the vine hedge. Badger sank into the ground and after waiting for 5 minutes, the Anbu activated the fire seals, creating a raging inferno. They waited, hoping that their plan would work. 3 long minutes the fire burned before the seals stopped releasing it, burning in the process. Fire seals were simply by nature not reusable. They watched if the vines would return in that spot, but so far it seemed as if the plan had worked. They waited for a minute to let some of the heat disappear and then the Anbu team rushed in, while Naruto stayed outside on orders of Dove. He was to be lookout and they didn't want him to get caught up in any kind of trap that might be located inside before they had checked. The Anbu group had been told that Dark Phoenix was a special Jonin in rank, which meant that he wasn't really ready for S-rank missions like this one. The one to prevent the seal being used the first time around was an A-rank, and it was only because of Naruto's special abilities that he had been sent there. It was too dangerous to send the village's leading seal master on missions like that one, when you had other options. And Naruto's seals had improved the success rate of missions overall by a god amount, which meant that he was even more valuable than the previous seal master in charge of keeping the armory supplied had been. He saw a huge wave of water appearing inside the broken dome of vines, which meant that the Anbu teams had started to erase the seal. He could only hope that it would be fast enough. Had he been the one securing the place, he would at least have left alarms. Or set up a second location for the seal and use the known location as a distraction for the enemies he knew to come. His blood went cold. That could actually be possible. They would need to check all around here for a second seal. Had this been his plan, with so much riding on the success, he would have had a contingency plan, including a second seal. He created 50 shadow clones and turned them into small birds. They flew off, searching for a possible second seal. This needed to be done properly. They couldn't afford to overlook anything. The seal was gone 1 hour after the Anbu teams got inside. It turned out that Badger had had some trouble underground, but managed to circumvent a defense against exactly what he had done, attacking the pods from below. There had been a number of much smaller seeds in the ground that could grow into vine spears at high speed, impaling a careless attacker. Not at all a bad scheme. Had Badger not been on the lookout for something like that from the beginning, he would be dead now. Just when Dove wanted to call the mission a success, Naruto started cursing, loudly. "We have a problem." I sent a few shadow clones out to scout if there was a second seal, as I pondered what I would have done to make sure that an important event like this would go off without a hitch. I came to the conclusion that I would set up a second seal, in a location a good distance away from here, Naruto told Dove. "The results?" Dove asked. "I was right. There is a second seal 20 kilometers in that direction," he pointed towards it, "and they even went further than I would have gone. They are ready to perform the ritual." My clone overheard Haydn boast that he had been right in preparing a second group of sacrifices, just in case some heretics were to interfere. "The ritual is about to start." "Shit, we won't get there in time." Dove cursed. "Can your clone do anything?" "No, it was noticed and killed." Naruto shook his head, "and the others are too far away to do anything. We would need about 10 minutes at full speed to get there, and by then the Reaper spirit will be out and entering Mala. We can't allow for them to succeed." "We don't need another shinobi war," Bear declared. "No, we can't, but we have no way to get there in time," Naruto replied, cursing the fact that he didn't have a flying thunder god seal there. Then he had an idea. "We can probably cut the time to get there down to 5 minutes. That way we might at least have a chance to prevent the unison between Mala and the Reaper spirit. Here, I developed these flying devices for the invasion of Konoha. They are tested and I have 4 of them sealed on my person. If half of us took them to fly ahead and the others ran there, we might be able to interfere at least," Naruto told them and unsealed the flying devices. "How do they work?" Dove asked. "Just channel chakra into them and it will be turned into wind chakra, which will propel you," Naruto answered. "I have been put onto the flying unit and I have my own device and am proficient in using it," Seagull stated. "I have at least some trainings in using one of them, but I wasn't made part of the unit," Cheetah added. "Then you two are going to be part of the advanced team for sure. Dark Phoenix will need to go as well, as much as I want to keep him out of the heated part of the battle. If the seal is activated, we need his abilities as a seal master to stop them from going through with things. Kraken and I will take the last devices and the others will head to the target's location at top speed. Dark Phoenix, leave them a shadow clone to lead them there," Dove ordered. "Yes," Naruto said and made 2 clones, one dispelling immediately to inform the other transformed clones to head to the second seal to run interference where they could. It would be a race against time. They all just hoped, when the 5 members of the advanced team took off, that they would be just in time to prevent the worst. Chapter 42, The Reaper Spirit. The group had needed 6 minutes to reach the second site. The sight they found was horrible. All around the seal were dead people, men, women, and even children, that had been slaughtered by cutting their jugular veins and arteries to make them bleed out fast. There was a definite dark presence around, and Mala was lying on an altar made of black vines in the middle of the seal, which was glowing an eerie red. What disturbed them most was that Mala looked ecstatic while the being seemingly was in the middle of the process of entering her body. They had to dodge a volley of kunao, which Haydn had shot at them. You pests. You can't stop the ritual anymore. He yelled at them. Mala is nearly united with the Reaper spirit. You lost. God Jashin will soon be reborn into the world and his glorious reign will last forever. He laughed darkly at that. Can you do something, Dark Phoenix? Dove asked. Not from up here, and I don't know how to get down there with Haiden doing his best to stop us. He only has to keep us busy after all. He has the advantage of being able to ignore all kinds of injuries and only needs to nick us to draw blood to use his connection curse jutsu. I would need to set up a counter seal to draw the Reaper spirit out again, but that depends on the battle of wills between the one being possessed and the one drawing the spirit out. And I don't know if there still is time. Nobody actually knows how long it takes after the spirit is here. I have no idea how they managed to draw it out this fast. I thought we had more time, Naruto answered. Shit. We will have to take a different course of action then. We need to separate them permanently. Then they can't create the offspring into which Jashin can slip, Dove decided. Easier said than done, Badger commented. But not impossible, Naruto stated. They can only have that baby if Mala is capable of conceiving. If we irrevocably destroy her womb, or her ovaries, they can do it all they like, it wouldn't lead to a baby. While two high priests Jashinists are a major problem, they would be the lesser evil than an insane god set on destruction and murder being born into this world. Might work, but don't their bodies always recover from all kinds of injuries? Cheetah asked. Normal injuries from weapons, yes, but perhaps poison or acid, Dove pondered. We can at least try. Nothing else to do now that they got the drop on us. Hit them with your best long-distance jutsus. We don't have to hold back and consider hostages anymore. Hit them with all you have. Dark Phoenix, stay in the background and only act if you are safe from direct retaliation. This is now fully an Anbu mission. The others confirmed the orders and Naruto took to a higher altitude, trying to figure out a way to assist without placing himself into danger. He used the chakra beam seals to give range support to the Anbu. It worked fairly well and it seemed as if Haiden realized the danger of those beams, as he regularly intercepted them with thrown boulders to prevent them hitting Mala. After 3 minutes of intense battle, Mala let out an ecstatic scream and rose from the altar. Finally! I'm a fully inaugurated High Priestess of God Jashin. She exclaimed loudly, and her formerly brown scythe turned blood red for a short while when she took it and then changed back, but there was a dark chakra coming from it now. Now I'll punish the rats that thought they could go against God Jashin. She declared, and vines shot out from the ground again and chased the flying squad. Thankfully that was the time when the second part of the team led by Naruto's shadow clone arrived. It forced them to split their attention into two directions and the fight was on. The group of 8 Anbu split into their 2 normal teams of 4 and each took on one of the Jashinists. Jutsus of all elements, both in solo form and combinations, were used by the Anbu to corral the Jashinists away from each other, but they were good. Especially as Mala could use her control over the vines to intercept attacks on her or even Haiden. And Haiden was devilishly fast. Not to mention that he had perfected his fighting style that built up on the fact that he was unkillable. He also knew that if he just got a drop of blood from any of the Anbu, he could take that one out of the fight quickly. But the Anbu weren't the elite for nothing. While Mantis was nicked in the shoulder by Haiden and he took in his blood, the others prevented that he could use his jutsu, which seemingly demanded him to stand inside the circle he had drawn from his own blood in the middle of the fight. It became clear that one of the Anbu was a Nara, when he connected his shadow to Haiden's and forced him to leave the circle and drop his scythe. Haiden cursed the man colorfully, but it didn't help him anything. The other Anbu used the chance that Cheetah had given them to land some very powerful jutsus, but sadly it didn't do much to Haiden, as Cheetah had to let the jutsu go to not get hit by the backlash. What do we have to do to bring him down? Cheetah growled after having caught him for the second time. This time had been much harder to achieve, as Haiden was looking out for the shadows more. I suggest cutting him apart into little bits to prevent that he can attack again, Naruto called from above. That might just work, Badger agreed, but who has a jutsu that can accomplish it quickly to not waste Cheetah's shadow possession jutsu? I doubt we would manage to catch him a third time. Leave that to me, Naruto replied and flew down and put a number of seals onto Haiden's body and one onto the ground between his feet. I suggest you get a bit away, as this will be messy. The Anbu nodded and stepped back. You won't be able to defeat me. God Jashin will make me the winner, stupid tree huggers. Haiden cursed. Fuinjutsu, Ant Lion Trap and Wind Sword seals activate, Naruto stated while closing two-hand seal, which triggered both seals. First the tag under Haiden's feet created a hole in the ground, which had fine sand rolling downwards, preventing that you could simply run upwards to escape the trap. Then the other seals cut the spot they were placed on with a sharp sword made of wind. Wow, I never thought you could create seals that imitate A-rank jutsus, Cheetah said very impressed. Nothing is impossible with the right level of knowledge in Fuinjutsu, Naruto replied. Down in the trap, Haiden was cursing up a storm, insulting the Konoha group, and promising them a very painful death, as soon as he was out of there. It's scary to think that he could survive being cut apart like that, Mantis commented, watching the spectacle, and how are we getting him out to take him into a secure spot where he can't escape? I can place a shell of earth around him that we can take with us to Konoha in a normal storage scroll, Badger informed the other Anbu, though it would probably best if we put some chakra suppression seals into the prison before that. Just to make sure. This guy is really a freak. The others agreed and left Haiden under watch of Cheetah to assist the other group with Mala, if they hadn't finished their fight yet. Though the lack of sound suggested that they had managed as well. Thankfully it was like they had suspected. Tiger had restrained Mala with wood and she was cursing them all out for interfering in her holy mission for God Jashin. I see you're done as well. How did the fight go? Dove asked. Very hard, he's a slippery opponent, but we managed to trap him and he's currently guarded by Cheetah in an ant lion trap that Dark Phoenix set up, Mantis answered. Dark Phoenix also placed seals that imitate the effect of a wind sword on several places on his body after Cheetah managed to catch him in his jutsu for the second time. The first time we hit him with some of our best jutsus, but he got back up again and gave us trouble again. His healing factor for any kind of physical wound that only injures his body, is really annoying. I see. Well, we need to make sure that their plans never come to pass. I would say, do the same to Mala and then we take them to Konoha and storage scrolls to let the Hokage decide what to do about them. But first, Dark Phoenix, poison her like disgust, Dove ordered. Badger, I also want you to hit her womb with your gentle fist. We are not taking any risk of her being able to become pregnant anytime soon. No. Don't you dare. I will bear the human form of God Jashin. Mala screeched, before Tiger let some wood cover her mouth. Naruto stepped forward and unsealed a vial with a strong poison that corroded any kind of flesh it got in contact with. He put it into a syringe and injected it directly into the womb area of her body, where Tiger shifted his wood a little to the side to allow Naruto and Badger access. Once Naruto was done, Badger targeted specific spots and destroyed any kind of vital organ for reproduction with his chakra strikes. Then Mala was given the same treatment as Haiden and sealed up into a prisoner scroll. We were lucky to get to them just in time. Good work, team. Let's get Haiden's pieces sealed up as well and then give these poor people a decent burial, Dove told the group and they confirmed. It was 5 hours later that they were back in Konoha. Naruto had given another ruse with a shadow clone to use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to get the group back to Konoha and now Dove had just reported back to Kakashi. I see, good work, teams. Leave the secured parts of Haiden and Mala with Ibiki to see if he can get some information out of them. Anbu, you are dismissed. Dark Phoenix, stay, Kakashi ordered and they all followed. Kakashi then proceeded to set up privacy seals to talk to his student undisturbed. How are you? Kakashi asked. Glad that it is over and a bit exhausted, sensei, Naruto answered honestly. You will be taking off the next 2 weeks and are banned from training for the next 3 days. You really need to have some real downtime, Naruto, Kakashi said sternly. I also suggest looking into spending some time with your comrades that are on leave as well. Hinata and Sakura have training at the hospital for the next month and are not going to take mission as long as there isn't any need for medics. Tsunade asked to have the most promising candidates kept in the village for that time and I granted it, as we have covered enough of the built-up missions to have a little breathing space. Not to mention that Danzo sent us a number of Chunin-level root agents to fill some empty spots. I didn't think he would do so. He likes to keep them in reserve and hidden away, Naruto commented. He wants to see the village rise to the undisputed top more than anything, and right now that needs manpower to appear strong to any kind of opponent. Letting a few root agents take normal missions will help with that. Even if they mostly take border patrol missions, to free up the ones that can be allowed to be in contact with clients, Kakashi explained. Yes, I can see how they would have problems with that. Danzo really overdoes it with his conditioning. Naruto nodded. Who else is in the village right now? Koji, Ino, and Kiba have just come back 3 days ago from a C-rank mission with Sasuke leading the team, and I plan giving them the next one the day after tomorrow. Sasuke has gone on to the next mission this morning. Shikamaru will be here until tomorrow morning and Shino is away with the Chunin team, Kakashi answered. Okay, I'll see if I can at least get something to eat with some of them, Naruto agreed, thinking that catching up on the missions they had would be a good idea. Once you are done with your leave, which I definitely won't cut short again, I want you to give a short seminar about sealing basics at the academy. We need more ninjas that at least understand the basics of Fuinjutsu, even if it is just recognizing the kind of seal they come across and making storage scrolls. And I think we could find some talented students that will be put into a program similar to Tsunade's medic program, Kakashi told Naruto. Not a bad idea, sensei. Well, I'll be off. I really need a shower and something to eat, Naruto commented and left, concentrating on one of his kunais, which was placed in his secret home. He wouldn't give up that safety for the world. When Naruto was done showering, he pondered who he would like to hang out with. While Sakura was his teammate, he didn't really like her enough to spend his free time with her or Sasuke, if it wasn't for something that others had arranged. Hinata, well, he didn't know how to react to her behavior. He knew she liked him in some way, but he wasn't sure if he wanted to support that by making her believe that he reciprocated. Well, he would see who he could find beforehand. If he got a number of others to agree to meet for dinner, he could simply tell her she was invited as well and it wouldn't give the girl ideas. As a friend and comrade, she was nice enough, but he really couldn't see him being a good match for her. They were very different after all. Koji and Shikamaru were a good choice to hang out with. They had never shown any obvious dislike for him, even during the academy time, and even skipped classes with him from time to time, when he had played the idiot to deceive people. Ino and Kiba were still loud, but they had become better ever since the training of the 3 rookie teams had been increased. With Sasuke and Shino out on missions, that was the selection he had. While he knew Guy's team as well, he didn't really have any closer contact with them and they would probably be out on a mission. An experienced genin team like theirs was currently given more missions, not to mention that the next Chunin exams would take place soon and they were going to enter again. Guy hadn't been too disappointed that his team hadn't managed to get into the finals. It was just bad luck. Instead, he motivated them to train even harder to have better abilities and speed next time the exams came around, and he was sure that they would have their chance to excel then. As far as Naruto had found out, the exams would be held in Kumo, which had taken over the exams from Suna, which had been banned from holding them for the next 2 years. While they had been tricked by Orochimaru, there had to be repercussions for attacking a supposed ally. And Konoha still had Gaara and Temari in custody, while Kankuro had been let go, as a sign of goodwill, after Suna had sent the first delivery of Jutsu scrolls that were part of the agreement that Konoha had set up with Suna to let them pay off their debts from the invasion. In the end, once Suna had met all the demands for their actions, Gaara, whose seal had been greatly improved to prevent him going on an uncontrolled rampage and who had been forced to attend counseling, not to mention that Naruto gave him a piece of his mind, which, coming from another Jinchuriki, actually stuck better, would be sent back. It had been discussed to extract the Ichibai from Gaara, but in the end nobody wanted to have that crazy monster influencing one of Konoha's shinobi. Jiraiya had managed to convince the council that influencing Gaara to think favorably of Konoha for helping him when Suna never even tried would in the long run be more beneficial for them than burdening a poor child with a demon that was known to cause mental instability in its container. Kakashi agreed with Jiraiya, as he knew too well that it was a miracle that Naruto hadn't gone down the road Gaara had gone. Even if there was the occasional civilian that didn't want to understand in which Naruto beat up when he was attacked. Tsunade really didn't have any pity for them and only told them that they were stupid attacking a ninja and that they had to deal with the outcome. Thankfully most people were smart enough to not voice their opinion anymore and leave Naruto be. Naruto didn't care for them at all and showed it when somebody tried to mouth off with him. Temari meanwhile would be kept hostage in Konoha for at least the next 5 years, depending on the behavior of Suna. As a daughter of the 4th Kazekage and one of the best wind users in Suna, she was a valuable one and a good insurance that at least her brothers would behave. And as distasteful as it might be, a political hostage of a strong bloodline could always be used to be married into one of the clans to give that clan powerful offspring. And so far, Temari was more or less resigned to her fate, knowing that she and her brothers could have as well been executed for their participation in the invasion. Konoha would have had every right to do that. In the end, Naruto decided to go and start with Shikamaru and Koji and then see if others also wanted to hang out for dinner. Naruto's question to Shikamaru and Koji was overheard by Ino, who was delivering a package from her mother to Shikamaru's mother, and therefore she was invited as well, which led to all the ones from their class that weren't out on missions being gathered at Koji's favorite barbecue place. They had a fun evening, talking about missions, training, interesting people they had met and their families while roasting pieces of meat or vegetables on the grill. Some of the others had got missions where they needed to repair houses inside the village and talked about how much work it was. None of them liked to think how much worse things could have been hadn't they known beforehand what would come. Naruto enjoyed the easy atmosphere, even if he stayed on guard. It was simply part of his personality. You didn't simply change after having to rely on these abilities your whole life. Then the conversation switched to a new program that they had heard about, one that had specialists of a field hold seminars at the academy for the students with the goal to spot talented students early on to teach them more in that field. I know about that one, Naruto said, and all eyes turned towards him. I'm part of the group that will teach, my field being Fuinjutsu. Makes sense, you're one of the few seal masters in the village and Jiraiya is constantly out maintaining his spy network and I doubt they will let Dark Phoenix teach. Shikamaru nodded. I still can't believe that you and Hinata got to go on a mission with that mysterious person, Ino commented. Well, I got the impression that he's a normal guy, Shikamaru replied, highly skilled and very intelligent for sure, but not too different to any other ninja. I thought the same. He treated us like all other higher-ranked ninjas that I worked with since my promotion to Chunin did. Professionally, but a bit distanced, Hinata agreed. The biggest surprise was probably that he was younger than I assumed. I would guess he's perhaps 1 or 2 years older than us at most, Shikamaru stated. Naruto, do you know who he is? Sakura asked. I mean, you did some work together with him. No, I'm not privy to S-rank secrets in general, Naruto shook his head, which was true, as a special jonin his clearance was officially B-rank secrets and A-rank pertaining to certain missions, outside of the QB of course, and everybody outside of Konoha would pay a fortune to find out the identity of our new seal supplier. While I helped out with that as well, ever since Jiraiya-sama confirmed my mastery, it would hit the village hard if our main seal master was taken out. That's true. The new seals have made success rates of the missions Konoha took since Dark Phoenix took over the job rise a distinct margin, Sakura nodded. Tsunade-sensei has told me how the seals helped the teams to have an easier time to get the missions done, with less losses and injuries as well. If people like Orochimaru got that information, they would stop at nothing either to capture him and force him to work for them, or kill him to deprive Konoha of that resource. The others nodded. Thanks to their intensive training since they had graduated, they had learned that the less people knew a secret, the better it was kept. Especially in the ninja world. Something like this would only be known to the highest-ranking ninjas in the village, the Hokage, his advisors, probably Lord Jiraiya and a select few others. Which other areas will be part of the seminar program? Koji asked, bringing the topic back to that. Well, there is of course the already initiated medic program under the leadership of Tsunade-sensei, Sakura answered, then I think weapons outside of Kunao and Shuriken will be taught in a class on tracking. The last one is correct. My older sister Hannah told Mum about her being asked to teach it, Kiba threw in. She also mentioned that a friend of hers that is specialized in infiltration will hold a seminar on that as well. Definitely a much better curriculum than what we went through, Naruto commented. I still can't believe how far behind we were when we started out. Those first months under Kakashi-sensei were hell on earth, Sakura shook her head. I should never have listened to the rubbish my mum told me about being a ninja. I wasted so much time. And I'm ever so glad that Kakashi-sensei cured me of the stupid dieting idea before I got to train under Tsunade-sensei. The way she laid into the beginner class in medical jutsus for thinking that dieting at their age was a good idea, she shuddered at the memory. You're right, Sakura, I felt pity for the girls. But they will never get that idea again, Hinata nodded. No, they would have to have a death wish, Sakura agreed. What did Lady Tsunade do? Ino asked curiously, as she hadn't gone into the medical program like the other two girls, as she wanted to specialize in poisons, which was only a small part of the knowledge covered in the program. First, she destroyed a thick desk with her fist when half the class raised their hands when asked if they were dieting, then she let us all assemble out on the grounds behind the medical training center and started bombarding everybody with exploding lead balls. While throwing the balls at incredible speed, she gave a lecture on how those on a diet were too weak to even dodge a large object like the balls, and that if they ever wanted to have a good-looking body like her and Shizune, they better stop the idiocy at once, or she would spar with them in person. Needless to say, that I never was as grateful for Kakashi-sensei's lessons on dodging at the beginning of our training as at that time, Sakura reported. We had to avoid the balls for 15 minutes on end, all 20 students in our class at once. It was a disaster. The dieting girls were on the ground before 5 minutes were over and Tsunade-sensei kept throwing the balls. About 3/4 of our class needed medical treatment afterwards, and the ones that had got away lightly got to work on practical examples. While the explosions were only low-level ones, and mostly released paint, it was still very effective in teaching the ones that didn't have as hard training as we did what they quickly needed to do, Hinata added, and really, Kurane-sensei's physical training prepared me well enough for the level Tsunade-sensei started out with. They really have neglected their training. And the academy students are in a different class than we are, meaning they don't have the excuse of being used to lesser training than a genin. The others nodded. It was clear that things were changing rapidly in Konoha, and they all considered it an improvement to before. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.